everyone. Welcome to God, Sex, and Love. It's your girl, Miracle Sims. And tonight I'm chatting with Miss Kim Sorrell. She's an author and entrepreneur, and she's going to tell us what love is. So if you are ready for this conversation, then stay tuned.
That's right. But is it worth the chance? Give me one
Welcome back to God, Sex, and Love. I am here with Miss Kim Sorrell. Hello, how are you?
I am doing great, Miracle. I have so been looking forward to this. It's so great to be with you.
Yes. Well, yes, first, welcome to God, Sex, and Love. Want to at least say welcome first.
That's right.
And exactly, yes, I know we've been trying to get this together. I know we've been talking about going live and all these different things. And I'm like, there's no room on the live because I had so many pre-records done. And then at the time I started, like the pre-record started to slow up. I was like, either we go live or we don't go live. It's probably be better just pre-record, Miss Kim. Sorry.
It works.
Yeah, for being patient with us and everything like that.
Absolutely. No problem at all.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So please tell us more about you and everything you have going on.
Yeah, well, I'm, whatever, an average woman trying to make a difference in the world, right? I mean, we all should, and we've all got a purpose. We've all got a plan for our lives. And I think the exciting thing is figuring out what that plan is. So I'm a mother, a grandmother. Gosh, nothing like being a grandma, let me tell you. And I am an entrepreneur. I started my first business right out of high school. I run a nonprofit organization. I've written a couple books, and I don't know. I try to give back to the community. I coached for a lot of years, and just try to do things. Try to make my life worthwhile.
Wow, it sounds like a lot of fun things to talk about there. But first of all, you say grandmother. I'm like, what? The baby's like 2 years old. Like, what do you mean? Like,
I love hearing that. You can say that as often as you want.
yeah.
Yeah, but yes.
Oh, wonderful. Well, man, yeah, it's exciting. Like different things that you can do throughout life. I know, it sounds like we got some things in common. Being an author, an entrepreneur, and all this kind of fun stuff as well. So I would love to learn more about your business endeavors and your books and everything.
Yeah, well, great. Yeah, my latest book, the thing that I'm most excited about in life right now, besides the grandchildren, of course,
Yeah.
is it's called Love Is. I was diagnosed a few years ago with breast cancer. And 4 months after I was diagnosed with cancer, my husband of nearly 29 years was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And he passed away just 6 weeks later. And yeah, it was a crazy time, because when do you hear about that? It's enough having one cancer journey in a family, but to do two, I went from care, receiving care, to caretaker, to widow, all in just a short amount of time, and had to rediscover life. What I was going to do. We were going to be those people, Miracle. We were going to be those people on the porch, sipping lemonade in rocking chairs when we were in our 90s. You never expected at 47 years old to be alone. The man of my dreams, the man that I love so much, to go to heaven. And so it made me question the reality of love, or not so much the reality, but did I do it right by him? And am I loving the right way? And my heart was so broken. And where do you draw the line? Like, you see a lot of people that lose people and seemed to walk in a dark cloud for a really long time. And I thought, is that love? You know, should I be walking in a cloud or should I be laughing again? Like,
Mhm.
what is love exactly? So I decided that I would do what any other newly single person would do. I'd go to Haiti, which probably isn't what any newly single person would do, but that's what I did.
Yeah.
And I was working in Haiti at the time, and I decided I would dedicate a full year to figuring out the truth of love, the real meaning of love. So I took a 2,000-year-old verse that we all know, we hear at weddings a lot, right? Love is patient, love is kind, does not envy, does not boast, etc. And I would take one word a month and figure out, well, what is love that is patient? What does that even mean? Love that is kind. But there were 14 words. And so it took me a little longer than a year because the math didn't quite pan out. But what I discovered was every single word, when you put love is or love is not in front of it, it changes the whole meaning. And so the discoveries I made about love just changed my life and blew my mind, and I think would change the world.
Wow. Wow. I mean, well, first, I mean, I'm sorry to hear about your husband and everything like that. You know, I'm a wife now, you know, and unfortunately, both, well, so a few things, a few things here. So one, I laugh about my husband all the time because it's like, in some ways, I feel like I married my mom because like things they say and do, like it's like, so that's why I say unfortunately, because unfortunately, like both of them, they are so, not say nonchalant about death, but they're like, we'll plan and blah, 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 and they're talking like along those lines. And you know, I guess maybe I'm romanticizing everything. Like we got together, like we just been together 5 years. Who wants to think about that? Like you know, and it's like I know it's inevitable, but no, nobody wants to think about that. You know what I mean? And stuff. But they're like, my mom has her whole situation planned down to the program. And I'm just and like sometimes she'll talk about it. And I'm like, Mom, I don't. That's like I don't even want to think about that, you know. But I know it's you know, I know. But so here I am with married to a man that's like the same way in some aspects. Like he hasn't planned his program, as far as I know, but like you know,
It's so
so it's
funny.
like, you know. So that's one thing. Because like me, again, I'm over here just like I couldn't. You know, obviously, another thing, I didn't necessarily witness it, but I was kind of there. You know, my mom lost my father when she was pregnant with me. So, and every now and then I'll imagine like, or try to imagine like what that could have been like for her. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, again, like losing a spouse, I definitely, I don't even want to think about it because I spent so many years. You know, I wrote my book about it, like the cultivation period when I was single and like preparing for this time of my life. So I don't even want to think about losing him. You know what I mean? But so I feel. You know what I'm saying? Is that I say all that to say I feel for you. And at the same time, I'm like, man, look at what beautiful thing came from. And that's how God, for me, that's how God is. It's like, you know, you just never know like what you go through and how that's going to help and bless and affect other people. Like anybody that gets your book or hear you, right, and hear your testimony from here on, you know, like you said, are going to get this beautiful perspective of what you experienced and learned throughout that year. After that, what I would deem to be I guess, a horrific, you know, experience. So it's like, oh man, well, on one hand, it's got to be the glory for your strength, right, for your um willingness to go on that journey, because some people would, like you say, go a different route, or you know, so that's a blessing that you were able to, you know, take that journey versus going in another direction. Man, I guess, yeah, let's learn more about that. Let's learn more about that, and I stopped talking and rambling.
Well, gosh, I'm so sorry to hear about your dad. Like, I lost my dad just a few years ago, and that was such a special relationship. I adored my dad, and I'm sorry that you didn't get to grow up with your dad, but I bet he was an incredible human being because, you know, a dad is so much more than you realize, even when he's gone, right? Because you hear stories, people talk about him, tell you about him, and you can imagine, like you said, and for your mom to go through that, man, that's a lot. That's a lot. I can't imagine. I mean, she's got to be one tough lady to get through what she went through and raise such an incredible daughter. So kudos to her. I want to meet her. I want to meet this powerful woman. That's incredible. That is incredible. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to tell you like a couple things I learned about love, even, because we think we know what it is, right? You know what love is. I mean, you're in love with your man, you love your mama, I mean, you know what love is. You love friends, whatever. You love food, I don't know, chocolate, whatever you love. But so many things that are done in the name of love or are called love really aren't love. And you don't go to the store and there's a manual or a love for dummies, right? So we learn from our parents, we learn from people around us, and not everything we learn is right. So it was quite an adventure, I gotta say. And so I start each chapter with what I think it's gonna be. Because I think I know patient. You know what patience is. I know what patience is. You're not honking when you're stuck in traffic. You're not mad because you're ready to go. He's not ready to go. That's patience. But what I figured out through living it and looking for it, it was on my mind all the time. Love is patient, love is patient, love is patient, love is patient for an entire month. And then figured out what it was through this crazy story that happened in Haiti. But patient, love that is patient. If people hear nothing else, this is a big one. Love that is patient recognizes that, first of all, I believe we're supposed to love everybody. So that's the person checking you out at the grocery store. That's your spouse. That's your sister, your brother, your cousin, right? Your neighbor. So you're supposed to love everybody. And in doing that, love that is patient would say that this moment right here, right now, Miracle, is the most important moment of your life. That everything that's in the past is in the past. Everything that's yet to come hasn't even happened yet. That this moment right here, right now is the moment. And so to love with love that is patient is giving your full attention and your ears wide open, not thinking, oh gosh, as soon as she says this, I'm going to say this, but just really listening to somebody, not prejudge, no judgment. There is no room for judgment, condemnation. There's no room for anything with love. It is pure. Love is pure. And so to really listen and not get distracted. Oh my gosh. And I have to tell you, for me, this has taken a lot of practice because my mind can go in 25 places all at once. And I thought I was the greatest multitasker in the world. I could be thinking about things I got to do. I could be thinking about a meeting tonight and be talking to somebody at the same time. I found out that's not true. I am not a multitasker. I don't know if anybody is. Love that is patient would say, no, that forget about what's going on anywhere else. Don't watch the squirrel running by. Don't get distracted, but give your full attention right here. Not thinking about, oh, I got to pick up milk on the way home, or I've got a meeting later tonight, but your full attention right here. That is love that is patient.
Wow. Already just I tell you, every time I talk to somebody, I'm just like, Lord, you really just did something on today, because you just never know like what you're gonna receive from someone else. And then I just feel like every conversation I've had on this whole platform, this whole thing of GSL, has just been one awesome conversation after another, and it just blows my mind all the time, because it's like, how else would I have met you? You know what I'm saying? How else would we be talking about this if everything wasn't so intricately placed? So it's all divine, and it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. Well, what else did you learn? I know you can't tell me the whole book. Tell the whole book.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you the second one. So what I do though is I start with what I think it is, and then the story from Haiti that brings me to the conclusion. And so I was chased by a motorcycle gang. I got lost on a mountain, a mile-high mountain, with a medical student in the dark. Like some crazy stuff happened, and some very funny stuff, very funny stories, and some very serious stories. And hopefully it's an entertaining book, as well as, inspirational and informational. Like hopefully it is what it is, but Kind is such a great one. Kind is so good, because we know Kind, you're kind, you're obviously kind, you exude kind, right? And anybody that's listening knows that you're kind, because we can hear it, we can sense it. And so you do kind things, you're kind to people, whatever. But Love that is kind. What is that? What is that? And so when I was going through that month of love that is kind, like I said, was looking for it everywhere. And I went to a place that I love to go in Port-au-Prince. It's called the Home for Sick Children. It's run by Mother Teresa's order, the Sisters of Charity. And I love to go to where the babies are. And there's just this sea of cribs. And I love to go there and just pick out one baby to hang with for the day and just love on them and help change the diaper and feed and, you know, whatever that baby needs and coo and cuddle and love on a baby. So I looked around and I saw this gorgeous, one of the most beautiful babies I've ever seen in my life. And I have beautiful babies because I've got grandbabies, so you know they're beautiful, and in my eyes at least. And so I saw this beautiful baby in a pink sleeper, you know, likely worn by some pink baby girl in the US and then donated to Haiti. And so I walked over and then figured out the story. And this poor baby had a IV, had oxygen going on, and looked so young, like a newborn, just a newborn. And I looked over and there was a woman standing at the end of the crib. And this, she was so pretty and so sweet, so just petite little woman that with this cloud over her, just this darkness that was just hovering over her, this sadness. And she had this cotton dress on with yellow smiley faces. And it's like, oh my gosh, you know, here this happy dress and this sad, sad woman. And so I, you know, learned her story. I reached down and held Christopher's hand, and she was afraid to touch the baby because these tubes and whatever. Anyway, so what I found out is this was Natalie and the baby was Christopher. This gorgeous baby was 3 weeks old. He was born on the one room dirt floor of Natalie's home. His mother was Natalie's only child, and she died shortly after childbirth. So here's Natalie with her only living relative, Christopher, and trying to take care of him, and he couldn't keep milk down. And she thought, well, it wasn't because it wasn't her daughter's milk. But then the more he tried, things just got worse. So she walked for miles holding this baby. She walked for miles to get to this place to get help for Christopher. And the best they could figure out is that he must have some abdominal obstruction of some kind, which in the US, we just do surgery and the baby would be just fine. But we're in Haiti, where even though we're in a city of 2 million people, there are few doctors and fewer hospitals. And so they knew the only thing they could do is surgery. Well, at one point during the day, Christopher stopped breathing. So we all stopped breathing. And we, in a scurry, just looked around and realized that his oxygen tube was kinked. And as soon as we unkinked it, we all breathed again. And so we knew that Christopher could not survive without oxygen. So they put a doctor on alert that Christopher was going to be coming to have surgery, but we needed a portable oxygen tank to get him there. And so I called everybody I knew in Port-au-Prince. And I know a lot of people. I'm there a lot. I know a lot of people. I called everybody, and some people had no idea where to even go find one. Some people went to look for one, but none could be had. In a city of 2 million people, not one portable oxygen tank. So poor Natalie, poor Christopher's grandma had to make the choice. You know, if he stays there, he's going to die. If he gets transferred to the hospital, no oxygen, he could easily die on the way. Who knows what could happen? And even though the hospital wasn't far away, it's so congested in this place that takes forever to get from here to there, and no matter how far you're going. And so her only choice was to take a chance and get Christopher to the hospital. So the decision was made. They pulled a van up to the closest store. They kept it running, you know, so they could get there quick as they could. And one of the sisters grabbed his IV bag, and another sister scooped him up in his arms and took off the oxygen and ran for the door. And in the scurry, I turned around and I saw that Natalie was still standing there. And I'm like, Natalie, go, Ale, go. And then her tears were just flowing down her face and down to her bare feet. And she knew she would not be allowed in that hospital with no shoes. So I quick whipped off my sandals. I put them in one of her hands. I grabbed her other hand. I ran for the door. She hopped in the van just as it was pulling away.
Mm.
So that was kind. Giving my sandals away was kind, but anybody would. You would do that. I would do anything so that grandma could hold that baby on the way to the hospital, right? To give that baby a chance and let Natalie be with him. And so of course it was kind. But I realized then what love that is kind is. Because I knew I'd never see those sandals again, but never even gave it a thought. I knew I'd probably never see Christopher and Natalie again, but I never even gave it a thought. I did something kind with zero expectations of getting anything in return, zero expectations, zero. So kind, love that is kind is that doing kind, giving kind, being kind with zero expectations of anything in return. Like how many times have you heard somebody say, oh, they didn't even say thank you, right? Or they were sick and I brought them a casserole, where's mine? You know, why aren't they at my daughter's wedding, right? Well, as soon as you have an expectation, it's no longer love. Then you're doing something to get something. It might be kind, but it's not love that is kind. And then I realized too, Miracle, that yeah, I gave Natalie shoes, but she gave me so much more. She let me love on her baby, love on her precious baby boy, and bond with her like mothers do, like grandmothers do, and spend the day, hours with them. And she let me experience that with her, what she gave me. And she knew she'd never see me again. She knew I wouldn't be able to repay that kindness, but what she gave me was so much more than a pair of shoes.
Mhm, mhm. Man, goodness gracious. All right. So, well, my first thoughts, as you were talking, I mean, I could totally see this being, look, we're about to work on something because we're going to make this movie. Love is movie, right?
Will you play
You know,
me? Will you play me if we do this?
Why you? I would be honored, right? I don't know how accurate you wanted to be, but I would be honored. I direct it too. You know what I'm saying? I help you produce it because I don't know. Whatever you want me to do, whatever you want me to do. But because I could. Well, obviously, the grandiose of the things you experienced, at least the description of like some of the other things that had happened on this trip, with you being lost and all these other different things. I'm like, that would be like that was, that would be an interesting thing to see, But this is, I mean, again, another beautiful testimony of again, not only something that you experienced and then you were able to bless these people, but then you're saying that what you're getting, what you receive back from it, and then again by sharing, again, anybody watching could be receiving from the information that you're sharing with us today. So, because I mean, obviously, of course you're an author, right? Of course your descriptions are very good. So I'm over here seeing the whole thing, like, oh my God, like this is amazing. Oh my goodness. Where do we even go from here, Miss Sorrell? Where do we even go?
Well, I would say this. So you're married, right? I was married for a long time. And in a marriage relationship, that's you love them.
Mhm.
And in the beginning of my marriage, I expected things in return. I had expectations, right? You go into it with expectations. And I soon realized it's my expectations that got me in trouble. Because believe it or not, my husband was not a mind reader. And so he did not know that I expected him to say, baby, you look fine today, or man, that dinner was so good. And I get mad if he didn't do those things. And I had this moment early on in our marriage where I was like, I don't want to be mad all the time. And I don't want him to disappoint me all the time. And I wanted a great marriage. And so I determined that I was going to love him and expect nothing in return. I was going to do everything I could for him to make him happy and expect nothing in return ever. Not like, okay, I'm going to do this for 3 weeks. And if the man doesn't respond, I'm going to let him have it. But no, I was going to do it. I was going to do it. I was going to do it. And so I did. And so I'd go to the grocery store and bring home his favorite candy, or I'd make his favorite meal, or, have something, write a little note in the morning, just whatever I could think of to make him happy, I did. And I'll tell you, I don't know that he changed, but it sure changed me. My love for him grew and grew and grew and grew, and our relationship grew and grew and grew. And I can't say it's because I did something and he gave back, but of course he did, right? I mean, that's going to be natural. Of course he did.
Mhm.
But it's because I was determined that I get to determine my happiness, right? I get to determine if I want a happy marriage, if I want a happy husband. And I get to give with zero expectations of anything in return. And it took me all these years later to realize that is love that is kind. That's what that is. That's what that means. And so simple for people to do if you think about it. But you got to think about it, right? Do something kind and just let it be. End it right there. It's kind. Period, period, period. That's love. That's love. And it's so freeing. Loving the right way is the ultimate freedom because you don't judge, you don't condemn, you don't have to fix anybody. It's up to them to fix themselves. We don't have control over other people, right? You don't have to fix anybody. You don't have to tell them what they're doing right or doing wrong. All you have to do is love them. That's all you have to do. And that is total freedom when you're not expecting anything in return. That's freedom, because when you expect something in return, you're going to be disappointed, right? You're going to be disappointed, and disappointment can be bondage because it'll hold you back. It'll hold you down. It'll get a grip on you. Bitterness will get a grip on you. Anger will get this grip on you. But if you just love, you are just free. You are free to just love. And it is the best way to live.
Mhm. I was thinking too, like in the midst of what you were saying about like your marriage and how things flip for you once you just started to do what you, you know, not say just wanted to do, but to love regardless of what your husband did. I feel like they either somewhere in my studies, like it's either was in the Bible or it was either a message that I listened to from a minister, or it probably was something I read along the past couple of years. But yeah, it was saying something along the lines of like, in marriages, yeah, you should just be doing what you're supposed to do, right, as the spouse, as the wife, or as the husband, or whatever, regardless, like you just said, of what your spouse does. And I know that can get difficult because you're like, man, because you do come in, like you said, with expectations sometimes. And so, but again, the more, I mean, I don't know. I think the other thing that I was studying or read along those times is like, praying for your spouse, right? If there's some certain things that might need to change in their life and whatnot, it's not about nagging them to it, like you say, and I guess I've told myself over the years, well, I can't change my husband, you know what I'm saying? I can't change anybody, like you just said a minute ago as well, like, it's up to them to change, right? But I can pray, I can encourage, I can be there, and I can do what I'm supposed to do, regardless of that, and we might like that part, right? I call that the Pope when I when I talk on the juice, with the stuff that we don't like. That might be something we don't like because you're like, man, I'm over here doing everything or whatever, and maybe I'm not getting back or something. But I don't know. I think the more we focus on doing what we're supposed to do, and then we'll get that peace and all that stuff that God gives us in the midst of it. Because I mean, there were some things that me and my husband, we kind of were like, I guess, saw differently, and that kind of was, for lack of a better way of saying, this moment, like it kind of got on my nerves at some times, just kind of like,
Sure.
like, why don't you see it what my way, and all these different things. But I think since I've been, I guess, focused on, I guess, doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I guess, in my life, my purpose, my, doing these things and stuff, I noticed that I haven't really thought as much about the things that were getting on my nerves before, and so um yeah, I mean, I think it's a balance and a piece there now, and I think like you say, I mean, just it might be hard for some of us to do, but I mean, we can do it though. We can do it, and I think, yeah, focusing on ourselves and being who we're supposed to be to others. I mean, I guess there's something to be said about that. That's
Yeah. Well, and what's kind of funny about it too, that I think is that we think they need to change. right? If people would just listen to us, man, their life would be easy, you know? So if we can just pray for them to just listen to us, you know, and see things the way we see them. But a lot of times you start praying for somebody, prayer is a powerful thing, powerful, powerful thing. And God knows what he's doing. God's pretty darn smart, right? And so we might be praying for somebody that they change in a certain area. But a lot of times I find it's me that needs to change. My heart ends up changing rather than, God, you got to take care of this guy. Like he's screwing up. He doesn't
Yeah.
know what he's doing, right? Like if he just would just do it the right way. But then I pray and realize, well, maybe my attitude isn't the greatest. You know, maybe I need to look at things a little differently.
It's probably our perspective that needs to change. you know?
Right.
And I
Right.
think again, that's probably one of the things with me. It's like, okay, I can't change him. You know, all I can do as somebody. Now that one of the things, and I joke to him and then one of my good friends as well, where I call we joke about him being my second husband because I talk to him so much about like a lot of different stuff. And he knew me before I met my husband, so that was the funny thing about it too. It's like, oh well, you know, you missed out. Just kidding. We joke. But both of them, it's like emotionally, and I think this is the thing about men, I guess, that you know, sometimes, you know, they'll talk about what they're feeling and sometimes they don't. And then you're like, I'm here to listen, you know, because you always listening to me. So do you want me to listen to you, you know, and stuff? And I'm like, I'm here if you ever need me, right? And so I like I'm over here feeling like I'm an open book sometimes. I'm like, I'm saying my feelings, you know, especially to them. You know, they probably out of all the people that know me, I feel like there's like a handful of people that I'm just fully open and honest with, and they, you know, I don't feel judgment from anybody that I talk to in that hand. you know, I don't feel
Mhm.
any like, but I want to be that for those people as well, you know, and I think maybe I am, you know, but maybe everybody's not as open as me. I don't know what I'm learning here, you know, but I just think that's funny. Like when I think about my husband or even my friends or whatever, it's like, you know, I'm here to be where you've been to be, but you know, at the same time, I can't change you in the way you want to handle certain situations. I just let you know that I'm here, or if there is something that we should communicate about or whatever, I'm like, you know, I'll let you know my point of view, and then we can go from there, you know, and not in a nagging way, just in a, I just want to make sure this is known, and then all right, you know, we go from there. So, um,
Yeah, so true, so true. I mean, you have to have those moments when it's like you agree to disagree,
mhm,
right? And you realize that everybody's individual and every day we've lived has led us to today. So
mhm,
all of our experiences, good, bad, and different, lead us to who we are today, who, by the way, is different than who we're going to be tomorrow and 10 years from now and 20 years from now. And a lot of times we like to stand on something and stand firm and this is the truth. This is, you know, I know the truth. And then 10 years later, you're going, maybe I wasn't quite right about that. So it's okay to be humble and it's okay to change how you feel and change what you believe, knowing that it's okay. You know, that's part of love too, is letting people be who they are, letting them live who they are, and letting yourself live who you are, because you got to love yourself too.
yes, ma'am, yes, you do, yes, you do. So after all the things, right? 'Cause I know you said you went through all 14 and all these different things. So I'm sure you came up with like some type of summary, right? Like, or some type of like overall, like I know you might not want to give us all of it, give it all away, but like, you know, what would you say out of your entire journey that you felt like, you know what, I did this journey and this is why I did it because I learned this ultimately. Like what is that? What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you know, like I said early on, it changed my life in all the right ways, all for the better. Like I look at life differently. I look at people differently. My relationships, every relationship that I have has changed. I read a book a few years ago, old book called Codependent No More. And realized that, you know, I mean, there was a lot of wisdom in it, but one of the things that it said that has stuck with me is there's such a thing as unsolicited advice. Right? And I'd never heard that term before. And I was like, I am the queen of unsolicited advice. You're doing something, I will tell you. I'm happy to share my wisdom, what I'm happy to share. I am just happy to, you don't have to ask me. I will share it with you. I will tell you. And I realized that, that's not love. It's one thing if somebody's wanting to know. It's one thing if somebody asks you, then share.
Mhm.
But also be careful about it, because tomorrow they're going to feel different about their husband that they think right now is a complete jerk, right? Tomorrow they're going to love him again. And if you're today saying, you're right, he's such a jerk, he's rotten, you should leave him, then tomorrow you're going to be that ex-friend who wanted her to leave her husband
Mhm.
because she still loves that man. So, love people through stuff like that. And love would say, don't be calling her husband a jerk. Let her cry on your shoulder. We all got to get stuff out, right? But support her without bringing him down,
Mhm.
and I think the biggest thing, besides freedom and all the wonderful things that living love the right way does for you, is that you live and let live,
Mhm.
right? Like there are people that have issues with certain lifestyles,
Mhm.
whatever that is, but have issues.
Mhm.
Love does not, because it's not up to you. All you have to do is love people and let them be who they believe God created them to be. Give them the freedom and give yourself the freedom to figure out who God created you to be at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, well, a few things. Another reason I almost fell out earlier because you said unsolicited advice. I usually would say like unsolicited opinions because I'm like I always would get bombarded with them throughout my life, and I'm like, can I just figure some things out? I did not ask. So I guess you probably would have been one of those people to me. I don't know. But that's what it is. I'm like, it's a phrase, it's a thing. Everybody knows it now.
That's
So
right.
yeah, that's why I was laughing at that. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, hey, God gave us all free will, and He gave us the choice, to live, I guess how you choose to live, right? And so I guess knowing that, and then knowing the grace and the mercy that I've received, right? Because it took me time to get through whatever I went through. Like I said, I call my single journey and whatnot the cultivation period, right? It took me, some time to cultivate, right, to be to where I am now. So knowing that again, that will, allow you to be, like say, humble or more gracious, or show mercy to people and in different situations. I do believe that there's ways to say, to say the truth in love, even the unsolicited opinions or whatever the case is. I guess if it's said in love or however the case is, I mean, people know, they can tell that versus um something that's being I guess in the alternative way, I guess you would say. But then again, like you said, the thing here's the things for me. There's a few things there because it's like, um, when I was reflecting on those tough conversations, right, or maybe unsolicited opinions, or um, again, even truth and love, that whole thing. It's like, well, one, we notice that people are easily offended these days about anything. Like even if I say, something the nicest way possible, um, they'll still be offended. So we gotta know where we are in our life now. You know what I mean? That's one thing. But then also, I guess at the end of the day, again, understanding that, okay, well, hey, it took me time to learn and grow, right? It took me time to do certain things. And sometimes, maybe sometimes people don't want your opinion, right? Maybe they just want that listening ear, like you said. Maybe they just need that um person to be there. I mean, I know sometimes I definitely vent, like I said, I got my handful of people that I've vented to and stuff. And then it me venting helps me to, process whatever I'm going through or whatever. Because as I guess I'm verbalizing whatever statements I'm making, it's okay. And now I understand this on a different level. Maybe I could get your opinion if whatever. Not say if I ask, but I mean, uh, and stuff like that. Um, and I guess I was thinking about like, but again, you go to certain people for certain things, right? And so, if I'm not, for example, someone's mentor, right, someone's parent, someone's um in that position in someone's life, then it's like, I say, who am I to give my unsolicited opinion? But kind of, kind of. But I don't know. I mean, again, there's so many things there, depends, I guess, on different relationships you have with people and things like that. But that seems like you've gone on a beautiful, beautiful journey, and I'm glad that you did. And I was thinking, I forgot to ask you, what led you to Haiti of all places and whatnot. But I mean, again, I feel like, I guess perhaps it was in divine order. Would you say that, or would you say that? I guess let's ask this.
Yeah.
Let's ask instead of me assuming. So, what led you to Haiti? That's right.
Yeah, well, because I run a nonprofit and we do a lot of work in Haiti. And of course, Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and it's a tough, tough place to work. It is not for the faint of heart, but it is the toughest, hardest place I've ever worked in my life. And so it's a hard, poverty-stricken place with the most wonderful people.
Mm.
And so it's the people that draw you back to anywhere, anytime, right? And so if anybody has any preconceptions of Haiti and has never been there and never known people, get those out of your mind. Like it's a difficult place to live. The poverty is thick. It is hard, very hard life, but people are resilient and love Jesus and love each other and are kind and wonderful and everything that people should be.
Well, and I know we were talking briefly earlier about, like, I guess weather-wise, how different things are around the world. But even as you share the different things that you experienced there and whatnot, it's just a reminder to us, as well as people that live in the U.S., for those of us, or even some of the other countries, that again, how differently people live around the world and how blessed and some of us are over others and whatnot. But depending, right? Depending, because and I was talking about this on the juice this morning about this morning, and not the morning that this airs, but whatever. But yeah, I was kind of talking about, like, I did this prayer and meditation with this. I usually use this app every day when I do it with that as a guided experience, and then I pray, and then I go and do the juice and give inspiration to other people. But so the one this morning was kind of talking about, like, success versus what is the other word? Just went away from my mind. You know what? I got my, not trying to plug, y'all. I'm not trying to plug. I do have my journal. So let me just look real quick. 'Cause I want to tell you what it is. Satisfaction. Or being satisfied and whatnot. And because and I guess how different those experiences are, how we are reaching and grabbing for success, but really in the Bible, even what I was seeing today as I was reading and studying and whatnot, it was saying how it brought satisfaction down to just like food and clothing, and that was just like, wow. It didn't even say shelter. That was the other thing that I pointed out in the juice. I'm like, it didn't say anything about shelter and whatnot. It was like, is being satisfied more than food and clothing? I'm like, man, like, is it? Like, that's, anyway, that's deep. I'm just telling y'all what I studied this morning, whatever. And so that's what I was thinking. As we were sitting here talking about, again, different people around the world and things. So again, maybe Haiti may not be rich in, what we deem to be success or whatever the case is, but like I said, perhaps they are rich in love, you know what I'm saying, rich in faith, and all those other things. And so, so I guess at the end of the day, who's really satisfied, like who's really rich at the end of the day,
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, you can have everything in the world and not be happy, not be satisfied, not, if you don't have love, you've got nothing, right? So that's a big one too.
Yep, love is.
Love is.
Man. I could sit here and talk to you. I feel like maybe this is a thing with all my guests. I feel like this is become a habit now. I'm like, I can talk to you all day. So, once again, yes, I can talk to you, Miss Digital World, all day. So if there's anything you want to leave us with before you go, what would that be?
I would say I've done the homework for you. I've done the work. Love Is. It's available on Amazon. It's available in brick and mortar stores. Barnes and Noble was a bestseller shortly after it came out. It's only been out since December, and I really believe the stuff in here is life changing. One thing that you talked about earlier is, having a conversation with somebody and stuff that goes on in your head. But one of the things about love is that it says love always trusts. So, go about your day without trying to read in between the lines, right? Take people at their word and see what that does for you. Because that's what love trusts. So always. So, it's a different way to talk to somebody. It opens up for a different conversation. But I would say love, figure it out. Like everybody needs to figure out love and what you're doing that is and what you're doing that's not and what you can do to do it better. It's something I strive for every day. And but it's possible. The thing is it's possible to love with that love that God has for us. To love each other with that same love is possible.
Amen. Look. You done said some stuff that makes me want to continue the conversation, but I'm gonna let you go.
Well, we can talk again anytime. I wish you lived next door. We could go have coffee or whatever, whenever we wanted.
I know it. I know. Well, maybe one of these old days, like I said, yes, you're definitely welcome back anytime. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you. I'd love to come back anytime.
Ooh, that sugar sweet, you got what I need. Sipping on the potion, all that good emotion, just my kind of heat. Keep it on repeat, tested by the motion, loving this devotion. Live it up, sweet emotion. Every time, every night, you and I on a roll.
Thank you so much for watching God, Sex, and Love, and thank you to Miss Kim Sorrell for joining us this evening. I hope that you all enjoyed the conversation, and don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and all those beautiful things. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.
But I'm not the type of girl that